The sky over Seoul burned red that morning. Captain Lee Hyun-woo pressed his face against the broken window of what used to be a coffee shop. 6 months ago, people sat here drinking coffee and checking their phones. Now the street was full of rubble and twisted metal. The alien ships hung in the air like giant black mountains blocking out the sun. Hyun-woo was 42 years old and had fought in 3 wars before this one. But nothing had prepared him for the Vorthak. The aliens were tall, maybe 8 feet, with skin that looked like purple glass. Their weapons could turn a tank into dust in seconds. Their shields could stop any bullet, any missile, any bomb that humans could make. "Captain, we lost contact with the 3rd Brigade," said Sergeant Kim Tae-ho. He was a young man, only 25, but he had good eyes and never panicked. His grandfather's old pistol hung at his hip. Most soldiers thought it was stupid to carry such an old gun, but Tae-ho said it brought him luck. Hyun-woo turned away from the window. His small team was hiding in the basement of the coffee shop. There were only 12 soldiers left from his original company of 200. They had been fighting the aliens for 6 months and losing every single battle. "How many brigades do we have left?" Hyun-woo asked. "Maybe 3 or 4 that can still fight," Tae-ho said. "The aliens hit the main base yesterday. General Park is dead." Hyun-woo closed his eyes. General Park had been like a father to him. The old man had taught him that a good soldier always finds a way to win, even when winning seems impossible. But how do you fight an enemy that your weapons cannot hurt? Dr. Park Ji-min looked up from her laptop. She was 38 years old and one of the smartest people Hyun-woo had ever met. Before the war, she designed weapons for the military. Now she spent her days trying to understand alien technology. "I've been studying the shield data from yesterday's attack," Ji-min said. "Our plasma rifles hit them with enough energy to blow up a building. The shields just absorbed everything." "We know that already," said Major Choi Yoon-ji. She was the intelligence officer, always calm and always thinking. "What we need is a new plan." Ji-min shook her head. "I don't think we can break their shields with any weapon we have. The energy output is just too high. It's like trying to break a wall by throwing water at it." Hyun-woo sat down on a broken chair. Outside, he could hear the sound of alien ships flying overhead. The Vorthak had taken control of most of the world in just 3 months. They had superior technology, superior weapons, and superior numbers. Humanity was losing the war badly. "Captain," said Private Yoon Subin. She was the youngest member of the team, only 22. "My grandmother always said that when you can't go through something, you have to go around it." "This isn't a philosophy class," Yoon-ji said. "We need real solutions." Tae-ho stood up and walked to the window. "The aliens think we're stupid," he said. "They call our weapons primitive. Maybe that's the problem." "What do you mean?" Hyun-woo asked. "We're trying to fight them with their kind of weapons. Energy guns, plasma rifles, laser cannons. But what if we use something they don't expect?" Ji-min looked interested. "Like what?" Tae-ho touched the old pistol at his hip. "My grandfather fought in wars before energy weapons existed. He said bullets were simple but effective, maybe too simple for the aliens to worry about." Yoon-ji laughed, but not in a mean way. "Tae-ho, bullets bounce off their shields like raindrops. We tested that in the first week of the war." "Did we test old bullets?" Tae-ho asked. "Slow bullets? What's the difference?" Hyun-woo asked. Ji-min was quiet for a long time. Then she opened her laptop and started typing fast. "Actually, that's an interesting question. The alien shields are designed to stop high-energy attacks. But what defines high energy?" "Energy is energy," Yoon-ji said. "No, it's not." Ji-min was getting excited. "Energy depends on mass and velocity. A big rock moving slowly has different energy than a small rock moving fast. What if the shields are programmed to ignore low-energy impacts?" "Why would they do that?" Hyun-woo asked. "Think about it," Ji-min said. "If your shield stopped everything, you couldn't walk. Dust would bounce off you. Rain would bounce off you. Air molecules would bounce off you. The shield has to let some things through." Subin nodded. "Like how a fishing net catches big fish but lets small fish swim through." "Exactly," Ji-min said. "But what if a small fish was poisonous?" The basement was quiet except for the sound of alien ships outside. Hyun-woo felt something strange in his chest. It wasn't hope exactly, but it wasn't despair either. It was the feeling a soldier gets when he sees a new path forward. "Can you test this theory?" he asked Ji-min. "I need a working alien shield generator, and I need different types of bullets." "I can get you a shield generator," Yoon-ji said. "The aliens left some damaged equipment near the river, but it's dangerous to retrieve." "I'll go," Tae-ho said immediately. "We'll all go," Hyun-woo said. If Dr. Park is right, this could change everything. That night, they planned their mission. The alien equipment was in a bombed-out area near the Han River. The Vorthak usually didn't patrol there because they thought it was empty. But getting there meant crossing 3 kilometers of open ground where alien drones might spot them. As they prepared to leave, Tejo checked his grandfather's pistol one more time. The gun was almost 70 years old, made of steel and wood instead of modern materials. It used gunpowder instead of energy cells. It was slow, loud, and simple. "If this works," Tejo said to the old gun, "Grandfather would be proud." Hyunwoo looked at his small team. They were tired, hungry, and scared. But they were still soldiers. They still believed that humans could find a way to win. Maybe Dr. Park was wrong. Maybe the shield idea wouldn't work. But maybe, just maybe, the aliens had made a mistake. The Vorthak had conquered dozens of worlds. They had destroyed civilizations that were thousands of years old. They thought humans were just another primitive species to be eliminated. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand. Humans never gave up, and sometimes the oldest solutions were the best solutions. Outside, the alien ships continued their patrol. Inside the coffee shop basement, 12 humans prepared to test a theory that could save their world. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to discover that the most advanced shields in the galaxy had a very simple weakness. A weakness that could be exploited by a 70-year-old pistol and a handful of courage. The mission to the Han River almost killed them all. Captain Lee Hyunwoo led his team through the dark streets of ruined Seoul, moving from shadow to shadow. The alien drones flew overhead every 20 minutes, searching for human survivors with bright blue lights that could see through walls. Dr. Park Jimin carried her scanning equipment in a heavy backpack. Every step made noise, and noise meant death. Sergeant Kim Tae-ho walked beside her, his grandfather's pistol ready. Major Choi Eun-ji watched the rear, counting the minutes between drone patrols. They found the alien equipment near a destroyed bridge. 3 Vorthak shield generators lay in the rubble, damaged but not completely broken. The generators were about the size of car engines, made of the same purple crystal material as the aliens themselves. "This one still has power," Jimin whispered, pointing to the least damaged generator. "I can work with this." Getting the generator back to their hideout took 4 hours. They had to stop 6 times to avoid alien patrols. Private Yoon Subin almost stepped on a hidden sensor that would have alerted the entire Vorthak army to their location. But they made it back. And 2 days later, Jimin had the generator working in the coffee shop basement. "It's beautiful," she said, watching the energy field shimmer in the air. "The technology is at least 1,000 years ahead of ours." The shield looked like heat waves rising from hot pavement. It covered a space about 3 meters wide. Hyunwoo could feel the energy humming in his bones. "Now we test," Jimin said. First, they tried their standard plasma rifle. The blue energy bolt hit the shield and disappeared without even a flash. Then they tried a grenade. The explosion was absorbed completely. The shield didn't even flicker. "Just like in battle," Yoon-ji said. "Nothing gets through." "Now for the old weapons," Tae-ho said. They had collected different types of bullets over the past 2 days. Modern bullets with energy cores, standard military bullets, old hunting rifle bullets, and ammunition from Tae-ho's grandfather's pistol. Jimin fired the modern bullets first. They bounced off the shield like they were hitting a steel wall. The military bullets did the same thing. But when she loaded the old hunting rifle with bullets from 60 years ago, something different happened. The bullet moved slowly through the air. It wasn't fast like modern bullets. It was just a piece of lead moving at maybe 300 meters per second. When it hit the shield, there was no flash, no explosion, no resistance. The bullet passed right through and buried itself in the wall behind the generator. The basement was completely silent. "Did that just happen?" Subin asked. Jimin was staring at the hole in the wall. Her hands were shaking. "Run the test again," she said. They fired 5 more old bullets. All 5 passed through the shield like it wasn't there. "How is this possible?" Hyunwoo asked. Jimin was already at her laptop typing fast. "The shield has a threshold," she said. "It only stops objects moving faster than a certain speed or carrying more than a certain amount of energy. Everything else passes through, but why?" Yoon-ji asked. "That seems like a major flaw." "Not from their perspective," Jimin said. She pulled up files about Vorthak technology that they had captured. "Look at their weapon development. For the past 1,000 years, every weapon in their arsenal has been energy-based. Plasma, lasers, particle beams, antimatter. They probably haven't seen a kinetic weapon in centuries. Tejo was examining his grandfather's pistol, so they programmed their shields to stop energy weapons but ignored kinetic weapons. Exactly. From their point of view, kinetic weapons are so primitive that they're not worth defending against. It would be like us designing armor to stop nuclear missiles but forgetting about arrows. Hyunwoo felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. Real hope. Can we use this? If we can get enough old weapons, Jimin said. The bullets have to be slow enough and simple enough. No energy cores, no smart targeting, no plasma tips. Just lead and gunpowder. I know where to find them, Subin said. The War Memorial Museum has hundreds of old weapons. And there's an old police station near my neighborhood that might still have ammunition. Yoonji was already planning. We need to test this on a living Vorthak before we risk everything. And we need to do it quietly. That night they planned their first real test. There was a Vorthak patrol that came through the university district every night at the same time. Always two aliens, always the same route. If their theory was right, they could take down these aliens without alerting the others. But first, they needed more old weapons. And they needed to understand why the Vorthak had made such a basic mistake. Yoonji spent the next day monitoring alien communications. She had learned some of their language during the invasion. What she discovered made everything clear. The Vorthak come from a world where kinetic weapons never developed, she reported. Their ancestors went straight from hand-to-hand combat to energy weapons. They never had an age of gunpowder, never had bullets or arrows or spears. So they don't understand physical projectiles, Hyunwoo said. Worse than that, they think kinetic weapons are a sign of primitive intelligence. In their minds, any species that still uses bullets is too stupid to be a real threat. Jimin laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. So they programmed their shields based on their own technological history. They protected against everything they knew how to build. Which means every Vorthak in their army has the same weakness, Taiho said. Not just their army, Yoonji said. I intercepted communications from their homeworld. Their entire civilization uses the same shield technology. Ships, buildings, personal armor, everything. The implications hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. If this works, we're not just talking about winning battles. We're talking about winning the war. First, we have to prove it works on a living alien, Yoonji reminded them. They spent 2 more days preparing. Subin led a team to the War Memorial Museum and came back with 30 old rifles and 2,000 rounds of vintage ammunition. Tejo practiced shooting with different types of old guns, learning their quirks and limitations. Jimin worked on calculating the exact speed and energy thresholds that would allow bullets to pass through Vorthak shields. The margin was narrow, but it was there. The night of their test, Hyunwoo felt like he was 20 years old again, preparing for his first combat mission. Scared but excited, the kind of feeling that came before something important. They positioned themselves in an alley where the Vorthak patrol always passed. Tejo had his grandfather's pistol loaded with bullets that were over 70 years old. The ammunition was so old that a modern gun probably couldn't fire it reliably. At exactly 22:30, the 2 Vorthak soldiers appeared. They were 8 feet tall and moved with the confidence of a species that had never lost a war. Their shields shimmered around them like protective bubbles. Remember, Hyunwoo whispered. We need one alive to question. Tejo aimed carefully. The first alien was 30 meters away. At that distance, with an old gun and old bullets, hitting a target required skill and luck. He pulled the trigger. The sound was different from modern weapons. Louder, rougher, more primitive, the bullet moved in a lazy arc through the air. Hyunwoo could almost see it flying. It passed through the alien's shield without slowing down and hit the Vorthak in the chest. The alien looked down in shock, purple blood spreading across its armor. It fell to the ground, making sounds that might have been words. The second alien spun around, looking for the threat, its weapon charged with blue light. But before it could fire, Subin shot it from the other side of the alley with an old hunting rifle. Both aliens were down. Their shields were still active, still humming with energy, but they lay on the ground bleeding from wounds made by weapons that were older than their great-grandparents. Hyunwoo ran to the wounded alien. It was still alive, staring at him with eyes like purple diamonds. It spoke in its own language, but the words sounded like questions. I think it's asking how we did it, Yoonji said. Tejo walked over, still holding his grandfather's pistol. Tell it that humans don't give up, he said. Tell it that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The alien died before Yunji could translate, but the test was complete. The theory worked. After 6 months of losing every battle, humanity had finally found a way to fight back. The question now was whether they could get enough old weapons to make a difference before the Vorthak realized their mistake. Word spread through the human resistance like fire through dry grass. Captain Lee Hyun-woo sent encrypted messages to every surviving military unit on Earth. The message was simple: old bullets can kill aliens. At first, nobody believed it. Colonel Kang Min-ho in Busan replied that Hyun-woo must be suffering from combat stress. General Lee So-ra in Tokyo said the idea was impossible. Even Major Kim Dae-jung, who had been Hyun-woo's friend for 20 years, asked if he was feeling all right. But then Hyun-woo sent proof. Video recordings of the alien patrol being killed by bullets that were 70 years old. Technical data from Dr. Park Ji-min showing exactly how the alien shields worked, and most importantly, a detailed plan for gathering old weapons. The response was immediate. Within 3 days, resistance cells across the world were raiding museums, police stations, and private collections. They took every old gun they could find. Rifles from wars that ended before their grandparents were born, pistols that belonged in museums, shotguns that farmers had kept in their barns for decades. "It's like Christmas for history nerds," said Private Yoon Soo-bin. She was leading a team through the Korean War Memorial, collecting weapons that soldiers had carried 60 years ago. The memorial had been damaged in the first alien attack, but the basement storage was intact. Hundreds of old rifles, machine guns, and pistols sat in dusty crates. Most of them hadn't been fired in decades. "This one belonged to Sergeant Park Hyoshin," Soo-bin said, reading a label on an old rifle. "He carried it through the entire war. Never missed a shot, Sergeant." Kim Tae-ho was training new recruits in the subway. Tunnels under Seoul. The Fourth Act never came underground because they thought humans were too primitive to build effective tunnel systems. They were wrong about that too. "Forget everything you know about modern weapons," Tae-ho told a group of 20 young fighters. "These guns are different. They're slower, louder, and less accurate, but they can kill aliens." The youngest recruit was a girl named Han Ye-jin. She was only 19 and had lost her entire family in the first alien attack. "Why are the aliens so stupid?" she asked. "They're not stupid," Tae-ho said. "They're just different. They come from a world where weapons like this never existed. To them, gunpowder is like using rocks and sticks." "So we're fighting space aliens with museum pieces?" asked another recruit, Cho Woo-jin. "Yes," Tae-ho said. "And we're going to win." Dr. Park Ji-min had moved her laboratory to an abandoned subway station. She was working 16 hours a day, testing different types of ammunition and calculating the exact parameters for successful shots. "The bullets have to be between 200 and 400 meters per second," she explained to Major Choi Yun-ji. "Too fast and the shields will stop them. Too slow and they won't penetrate alien armor." "What about bullet weight?" Yun-ji asked. "Heavier is better up to a point. Lead bullets work best. No modern materials, no energy cores, nothing fancy." Yun-ji was coordinating with resistance cells around the world. The news was good. Teams in New York had raided the Metropolitan Museum and found Civil War rifles. Fighters in London had broken into the Tower of London and taken medieval crossbows. A group in Moscow had discovered a private collection of hunting rifles from the 1900s. But there was a problem. "We don't have enough ammunition," Yun-ji reported. "Most of these guns use bullets that stopped being manufactured 20 years ago. Can we make our own?" Hyun-woo asked. Ji-min nodded. "It's simple technology. Lead gunpowder, brass casings. But we need raw materials and a safe place to work." "The old Samsung factory in Suwon," Soo-bin suggested. "It's been abandoned since the war started. Still has power and machinery." "Too exposed," Hyun-woo said. "The aliens patrol that area." "What about the subway maintenance tunnels?" Tae-ho suggested. "There's a workshop area near City Hall Station. Underground, hidden, and the Vorthak never go there." They spent a week setting up the ammunition factory. Engineers from different resistance cells worked together to modify old machinery for making bullets. Chemists mixed gunpowder using formulas that were over a century old. Metalworkers melted down lead pipes and car batteries to make projectiles. It was dangerous work. One mistake with the gunpowder could kill everyone in the tunnel. But they were desperate. The alien forces were preparing for something big. Yunji's intelligence network had intercepted Vorthak communications. The aliens were growing impatient with the human pest problem. They were planning a final assault that would eliminate all remaining resistance. How long do we have? Hyunwoo asked. Maybe 2 weeks, Yoonji said. They're bringing in additional ships from their homeworld. This time they plan to glass the entire planet. Glass it? Turn the surface into molten rock. Complete extinction. The ammunition factory worked day and night. Volunteers from across Seoul brought raw materials. Old car batteries, lead pipes, brass fittings, anything that could be turned into bullets. They even melted down memorial statues to get enough lead. I feel bad about the statues, Subin said as they fed another bronze monument into the melting furnace. The people those statues honored would understand, Hyunwoo said. They fought for humanity's survival too. After 10 days, they had produced 50,000 rounds of ammunition. Not nearly enough for a full war, but enough for a coordinated strike. The plan was ambitious. Resistance cells in 12 major cities would attack alien installations simultaneously. They would use their old weapons to destroy shield generators, command centers, and communication arrays. If everything went according to plan, they could cripple the Vorthak forces before the final assault. But first, they needed to test their weapons on a larger scale. Hyunwoo chose a target carefully. There was a Vorthak supply depot near Incheon that was lightly guarded. Only 20 aliens, but it contained enough equipment to supply a small army. If they could take it with minimal losses, it would prove that their strategy worked. The night before the raid, Taeho cleaned his grandfather's pistol one more time. The old weapon had become famous among the resistance fighters. Some called it the gun that saved humanity. Do you think your grandfather ever imagined this? Subin asked. Taeho shrugged. He fought in 3 wars. He always said that soldiers have to be ready for anything. Even space aliens. He probably would have said that aliens are just another enemy. The important thing is to find their weakness and exploit it. Dr. Jimin was making final adjustments to their equipment. She had built new scanners that could detect alien shield frequencies. If their theory was correct, every Vorthak installation would have the same vulnerability. The shields are standardized across their entire military, she explained. Same technology, same weaknesses. What works on one alien should work on all of them. Should? Hyunwoo asked. Will, Jimin corrected herself. What works on one alien will work on all of them. The raid team assembled in the subway tunnel. 30 fighters armed with weapons that were older than their parents. World War II rifles, Korean war machine guns, hunting rifles from the 1980s. They looked like soldiers from a history book, but they were fighting for the future. As they prepared to leave, Yoonji received one final intelligence report. The Vorthak commander was growing suspicious about recent human activity. He had ordered increased patrols and was demanding explanations for the missing guards. They know something is happening, she reported, but they don't know what. Good, Hyunwoo said. Let's keep it that way. The team moved through the tunnels toward their target. Above them, alien ships continued their patrols, searching for human survivors. The Vorthak were confident that they had already won the war. They thought humans were just delaying the inevitable. They were about to learn that humans are very good at proving their enemies wrong, especially when their enemies underestimate the power of old weapons and new determination. The attack on the Incheon supply depot began at exactly midnight. Captain Lee Hyunwoo watched through binoculars as his team moved into position around the alien compound. The Vorthak had built their base inside what used to be a shipping container yard, thinking the large metal structures would provide good defense. They were right about human energy weapons, wrong about human bullets. Sergeant Kim Taeho led the first assault team. They crept through the shadows between shipping containers, moving closer to the alien guards. The Vorthak were 8 feet tall and glowed softly in the dark. Their shields made them look like purple ghosts. Remember the plan? Hyunwoo whispered into his radio. Coordinated fire. All targets at once. 30 old rifles aimed at 20 alien guards. The weapons were from different wars, different decades, different countries, but they all used the same basic technology that the Vorthak had forgotten to defend against. Fire. The sound was like thunder. 30 bullets flew through the air at different speeds, following different paths. Some were faster, some slower, but all of them were within the narrow range that could pass through alien shields. 20 Vorthak soldiers fell to the ground. Their shields flickered and died. Purple blood pooled around their bodies. Impossible. One dying alien whispered in its own language. Major Choi Yoonji understood enough to translate later. The supply depot was theirs in 15 minutes. The resistance fighters moved through the compound, securing alien equipment and weapons. But the most important discovery was in the command center. Dr. Park Ji-min connected her scanner to the alien computers and downloaded everything she could find. What she saw made her hands shake with excitement. "Hyunwoo, you need to see this," she called. The alien database contained detailed information about Vorthak military doctrine, ship designs, weapon specifications, shield frequencies, and most importantly, tactical plans for the final assault on Earth. "They're planning to attack in 72 hours, Ji-min said. 50 ships from their homeworld, plus everything they already have here. They want to finish this war quickly." "How many aliens total?" Hyunwoo asked. "About 10,000 soldiers, plus support staff and ship crews." Hyunwoo felt cold. Even with their new weapons, humanity couldn't fight 10,000 aliens in open battle. They needed a different plan. "What about their command structure?" Hyunji asked, looking over Ji-min's shoulder at the alien data. "Centralized," Ji-min said. "Everything is controlled from the main command ship. If we could disable that ship, the whole fleet would be confused." "Where is the command ship?" "Here." Ji-min pointed to a map of Seoul. "They've been using the old Lotta Tower as their main base. The command ship is docked at the top." Hyunwoo studied the map. Lotta Tower was one of the tallest buildings in Seoul, over 500 meters high. The Vorthak had converted it into a fortress with shield generators on every floor and thousands of alien soldiers inside. "That's suicide," said Private Yoon Subin. "Even with our old weapons, we can't fight through that many aliens." "We don't fight through them," Hyunwoo said. "We go around them." The plan they developed was crazy. It was dangerous. It probably wouldn't work, but it was the only chance humanity had. While a small team attacked the tower directly, drawing alien attention, another team would use the old subway tunnels to approach from below. The subway system connected to the tower's basement levels. If they could reach the building's core systems, they might be able to disable the shields and sabotage the command ship. "I'll lead the tunnel team," Hyunwoo said. "No," Taeho said immediately. "You're needed to coordinate the global attack." "I'll take the tunnel team." "The global attack?" Yoonji smiled for the first time in months. "While we're hitting their command center, resistance cells around the world will attack every alien installation simultaneously. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, everywhere. We only get one chance at this." The next 72 hours were the busiest of Hyunwoo's life. He coordinated with resistance leaders on 6 continents, sharing the technical data they had captured and helping plan synchronized attacks. Every group would strike at exactly the same time, using old weapons to exploit the same shield vulnerability. Meanwhile, Taeho prepared his tunnel team. 12 fighters armed with the oldest, most primitive weapons they could find. His grandfather's pistol, a hunting rifle from 1952, even a crossbow that Private Han Ye-jin had found in a medieval museum. "Remember," Dr. Ji-min told them, "the ship's main computer is on the 100th floor. If you can reach it and upload this virus, it will disable their entire communication network." She handed Taeho a small device that looked like an old USB drive. "Plug it into any alien computer terminal. The virus will do the rest." "What kind of virus?" asked Cho Woo-jin, the youngest member of the tunnel team. "The most dangerous kind," Ji-min said. "It's written in basic binary code, so primitive that their security systems won't even recognize it as a threat." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Once again, humanity's salvation lay in technology that was considered obsolete. The attack began at dawn. Around the world, human resistance fighters emerged from hiding places carrying weapons their great-grandfathers would have recognized. In New York, they attacked the alien base in Central Park with rifles from World War II. In London, they stormed the Houses of Parliament with hunting guns from the Scottish Highlands. In Tokyo, they used samurai swords and old pistols to fight aliens in the ruins of the Imperial Palace. In Seoul, Hyunwoo led 200 fighters in a direct assault on Lotta Tower. They charged across the plaza with battle cries that echoed off the alien ships overhead. Plasma bolts rained down on them, but they kept moving, firing their old weapons at any alien they could see. The Vorthak were completely unprepared. Their soldiers had never faced kinetic weapons before. They didn't know how to take cover from bullets. They didn't understand why their shields weren't working. Panic spread through their ranks as fighters fell to weapons that looked like museum pieces. While the battle raged above ground, Taeho's team moved through the subway tunnels. They reached the tower's basement and began climbing through maintenance shafts and emergency stairwells. 50 floors, 60 floors, 70 floors. They moved slowly, carefully, avoiding alien patrols. On the 80th floor, they ran into trouble. A squad of Orthac soldiers was guarding the stairwell. The aliens saw them coming and raised their weapons. "Scatter," Taeho shouted. The firefight lasted 3 minutes. Young Han Yejin was hit by a plasma bolt and died instantly. Cho Woo-jin took shrapnel from an exploding wall and couldn't continue. But the remaining team members reached the 90th floor. 10 floors to go. Outside, the global battle was going better than anyone had dared hope. Resistance cells were reporting victories around the world. The aliens were confused, disorganized, and losing ground. But time was running out. Vorthak reinforcements would arrive soon. Taeho's team reached the 95th floor. Only 5 floors to the command ship. But the aliens had realized what was happening. Dozens of Vorthak soldiers were converging on their position. "I'll hold them off," said Sergeant Lee Junho, one of the original coffee shop defenders. "You get to the top." Junho: "No. That's an order, sir." From one sergeant to another, Lee. Junho took position at the stairwell with an old machine gun that had been used in the Korean War. The sound of gunfire echoed through the building as Taeho and the remaining 3 fighters climbed the final floor's 100th floor. The door to the command ship's docking bay. Taeho kicked the door open and stepped into a room full of alien technology. The command ship floated in the center of the space, connected to the building by energy bridges. Alien crew members moved back and forth, preparing for the final assault on humanity. They saw the humans and reached for their weapons, but Taeho was already moving, his grandfather's pistol in his hand. The old gun spoke 3 times. 3 aliens fell, the alarm systems activated. Red lights flashed everywhere. More aliens came running from the ship, but Taeho had reached the main computer terminal. He pulled out Dr. Jimin's virus device and plugged it into the alien system. The upload began. Around the world, human fighters watched as alien shields flickered and died. Communication networks went silent. Vorthak ships lost power and crashed to the ground. The most advanced military force in the galaxy was being defeated by weapons that belonged in museums and computer viruses, written in basic binary code. But the battle wasn't over yet. The alien commander had one final card to play, a weapon that could destroy not just humanity but the entire planet. The planet killer weapon looked like a giant purple crystal growing from the center of the command ship. Sergeant Kim Taeho could feel its energy building, making the air itself vibrate. Warning lights flashed across alien control panels as the weapon charged. 30 seconds until planetary destruction, an alien voice announced in perfect English. Taeho was alone now. His last team member, Corporal Shin Min-soo, had been killed by alien guards 5 minutes earlier. The virus was uploaded. The Vorthak communication network was destroyed, but none of that mattered if the planet burned. He ran through the command ship, his grandfather's pistol ready. The old weapon felt warm in his hands, like it remembered all the battles it had fought before this one. Alien crew members tried to stop him, but their shields were useless against bullets that moved too slowly to trigger their defenses. The command center was a circular room filled with floating displays and control surfaces that responded to touch. In the center stood the Vorthak commander, a massive alien nearly 10 feet tall with skin like polished purple glass. It was working frantically at the weapon controls. "Human fool," the commander said in broken English. "You think your primitive weapons make you strong? I will burn your world to ash. 20 seconds until planetary destruction." Taeho raised his pistol and fired. The bullet passed through the commander's shield and hit it in the shoulder. Purple blood splattered across the control panels, but the alien kept working. 15 seconds. The weapon was almost ready. Taeho could see through the ship's windows as a beam of energy began forming above the city. It was beautiful and terrible, like a second sun being born in the sky. Taeho emptied his pistol into the commander, 5 bullets, each one finding its target. The alien staggered but didn't fall. Its species was tough, built to survive in harsh environments. Even dying, it reached for the final activation control. 10 seconds, the gun was empty. No time to reload. Taeho threw himself at the alien commander, tackling it away from the controls. They crashed into the weapon's main power coupling, a thick cable that pulsed with energy. 5 seconds. The coupling was damaged, sparks flying everywhere, but the weapon was still charging. In 5 seconds, Earth would be a ball of molten rock floating in space. Taeho looked at his grandfather's pistol. The metal was warm, almost hot. Suddenly he understood. The gun wasn't just a weapon, it was a conductor. He jammed the pistol into the damaged power coupling and held it there as electricity flowed through the old metal. The current traveled up his arms, through his body, stopping his heart. But it also traveled into the weapon's power system, overloading circuits that were designed for controlled energy flow. The planet-killer weapon exploded. The blast threw Taeho across the command center, but he was already dead. His body landed next to the alien commander, both of them killed by the same explosion. The grandfather's pistol was melted into a puddle of metal, its final battle fought and won. Captain Lee Hyun-woo felt the explosion from 50 floors below. The entire building shook and pieces of the command ship crashed through the tower's roof. When the debris stopped falling, there was silence. "Status report," he called into his radio. "Command ship is down," reported Major Choi Yoon-ji from her position outside the building. "All alien ships have lost power. The weapon is destroyed." Around the world, the news was the same. Vorthak forces were surrendering or fleeing in whatever ship still had power. The invasion was over. Humanity had won, but the victory felt hollow to Hyun-woo. Too many good people had died. Taeho, who always believed in simple solutions. Jun-ho, who held the line when it mattered most. Ye-jin, who was too young to die in any war. Dr. Park Ji-min found him sitting in the rubble outside Lotta Tower, staring at the alien ships that littered the sky like fallen leaves. "The Vorthak are requesting a meeting," she said. "They want to discuss surrender terms." "What's to discuss?" "They lost. It's more complicated than that. I've been analyzing the data we captured." Hyun-woo, the Vorthak weren't the real threat. She sat down beside him and opened her laptop. The screen showed star charts and military reports in alien languages. "The Vorthak were running from something," Ji-min continued. "Something that destroyed their homeworld 6 months ago. They came to Earth because they needed a new planet, not because they wanted to conquer us." "What destroyed their world?" "Another species. Something called the Devourers. According to these reports, they consume entire planets, leaving nothing behind. The Vorthak were refugees, not invaders." Hyun-woo felt tired. "So we fought a war against people who were just trying to survive?" "Yes, but that's not the important part. The important part is that the Devourers are coming here next." 3 days later, Hyun-woo met with the surviving Vorthak leadership in what used to be the United Nations building in New York. The aliens looked different now, smaller and more fragile without their shields and weapons. They spoke through translation devices, their voices sad and defeated. "We apologize for the war," said the alien who had been second in command. "We were desperate. Our people were dying." "How many of you are left?" asked Hyun-woo. "Perhaps 50,000. Out of billions. And these Devourers? They will arrive in your solar system within 2 years. Nothing can stop them. They have consumed 1,000 worlds." Hyun-woo looked around the room at the other human leaders. General Park's replacement, Colonel Kim So-young. Dr. Ji-min, who had become Earth's leading expert on alien technology. Private Subin, who now wore the rank of lieutenant for her actions during the war. "Can your technology help us fight them?" he asked the Vorthak. "Our weapons could not stop them. That is why we fled." "What about our weapons?" The alien leaders looked confused. "Your primitive kinetic weapons?" "Our primitive kinetic weapons just defeated you." For the first time since the surrender, the aliens showed something like hope in their purple eyes. "The Devourers have never encountered kinetic weapons," one of them said slowly. "Their defenses are based on energy absorption like ours were." "Then we have 2 years to prepare," Hyun-woo said. Together, the next 24 months transformed both species. Human engineers learned to build energy weapons and shields. Vorthak scientists learned to manufacture bullets and explosives. Together, they designed hybrid weapons that combined the best of both technologies. But the most important lesson had already been learned. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best solutions. Sometimes what looks primitive is actually revolutionary. Sometimes a simple 9mm bullet can change the course of history. When the Devourers arrived, they found Earth defended by the strangest alliance in galactic history. Humans and Vorthak, fighting side by side with weapons that ranged from antimatter cannons to muskets loaded with lead balls. The first Devourer ship to enter Earth's atmosphere was destroyed by Lieutenant Yoon Subin, firing a crossbow from the top of Mount Fuji. The bolt passed through the ship's energy barriers and hit something vital. The massive vessel crashed into the Pacific Ocean, its crew dead before they understood what had killed them. It was the beginning of humanity's second war in 3 years. But this time they weren't fighting alone, and this time they knew exactly which weapons to use. Years later, when historians wrote about the wars that saved Earth, they always mentioned the same thing. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had forgotten the power of simple tools. They had become so focused on complex technology that they ignored basic physics, but humans remembered. Humans had never forgotten that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is with the simplest available tool. And sometimes, the simplest available tool is a 70-year-old pistol, loaded with bullets made of lead and hope. The war memorial built in Seoul after the Devourer conflict had a simple inscription: "To those who proved that old weapons and new courage can defeat any enemy." At the base of the memorial, visitors could see Sergeant Kim Tae-ho's melted pistol, preserved in a block of crystal. Children would ask their parents why such an old, broken gun was considered a treasure. And their parents would tell them the story of how humanity learned that being primitive doesn't mean being weak. It means being ready for anything. Even space aliens who thought they knew everything about war.